The Southeast Asian star who challenged the world. At just 20 years old, Eala has done what no female player from the Philippines has ever dared to dream of. Winning a WTA 125 event and writing her name into Grand Slam history. A nation that had never been on the world tennis map suddenly has a new icon. But at that very moment, Alex faces immense pressure. Is she just a fleeting sensation? Or is she a star who can change the face of global women's tennis? After her victory in Guadalajara and a 7-match winning streak in the Americas, Eala has climbed back into the world's top 60. But the path ahead is truly grueling. This time, she's betting her young career on a high-stakes Asian swing, from Jinan Suzhou to the Hong Kong Open, a tournament considered her gateway to breaking into the top 50. A Southeast Asian player joining the ranks of the world's top stars? That would be an unprecedented chapter in history. And this is what audiences are most curious about: the little-known details of Eala's journey during the Asian swing. Details that will change how you see her forever will only be revealed at the end of this video. Are you sure you'll watch until that moment? To not miss any secrets from the world of tennis and Hollywood, remember to subscribe to the Pro Tennis Stories 360 channel, where the truth is always more fascinating than fiction. From regional sensation to global icon. After Hong Kong, the world had to take another look at Eala. Previously, she was only called the pride of the Philippines. Now international media calls her a new global icon on the rise. What's special is that Eala didn't follow the path of Coco Gauff or Leylah Fernandez, who were nurtured by powerful sports systems. Alex took a different road. She comes from a country with no tennis tradition, where many tournaments are even played on makeshift cement courts. Few know her family once sold their assets to fund her junior tournaments. It's this sacrifice that makes Eala's victory not just a personal achievement, but a symbol of Southeast Asian ambition. Global brands are starting to take notice, but Alex holds true to her statement: "I don't play for fame. I play so that the kids back home can believe they can too." And it's this authenticity that makes the world believe she is more than a fleeting phenomenon. Block 10, Payoff. The fire that can't be extinguished. From a 12-year-old girl crying in the Nadal Academy, from homesickness to a top 50 player crying tears of joy in Hong Kong, Eala's journey has proven one thing: faith and sacrifice can change the entire tennis map. The big question now is, can Eala become the first Grand Slam champion from Southeast Asia? Or will this fire just be a single flash in history? The answer remains to be seen. But one truth is undeniable. Eala has lit a fire that a whole generation of young people are now following, and that fire will never be extinguished. What do you think? Does Eala have what it takes to conquer a Grand Slam, or should she focus on becoming a regional pride? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you want to keep following the most inspiring stories from sports and entertainment, don't forget to subscribe to the Luxury Empire 360 channel, where untold truths are always revealed. Payoff. The fire that can't be extinguished. 10 years ago, at the Nadal Academy, a young Filipino girl cried from homesickness. Her coach at the time said only one thing: "If you're strong enough to stay, one day the world will remember you." Today, that girl is Eala, a top 50 player who just made millions of fans rise to their feet at the Hong Kong Open. What makes this story special isn't just the victory. It's how Alex turned every ounce of skepticism into motivation, turning a country on the periphery of the tennis world into a birthplace for a global icon. She didn't just play for herself. Every serve, every backhand carried the ambition of millions of children who believed, "If Alex can do it, I can too." And now, the biggest question is no longer does she have potential, but rather, can Eala become the first Grand Slam champion from Southeast Asia? If so, it would be a moment that changes the history of world sports. But even if she never touches a Grand Slam trophy, Alex has done something few ever dared to imagine. She has lit a fire for an entire generation. That fire, fueled by ambition, sacrifice, and belief, will never be extinguished. So what do you think? Does Eala have what it takes to write the next chapter of Grand Slam history? Or is her journey itself the true legacy? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you want to keep exploring inspiring journeys from sports and entertainment, don't forget to subscribe to the Pro Tennis Stories 360 channel, where the real stories are told with the most authentic truth. When statistics don't lie. The moment the umpire called game, set, match, Eala, the court went nearly silent. Not from shock, but because most people didn't understand what had just happened. A highly anticipated match between two players with strong personalities turned out to be a demolition powered by data and strategy. Anyone looking at the 6-3, 7-5 score might think the match was close. But when diving into the statistics, a completely different truth emerges. Eala didn't just win, she ruthlessly dismantled Aliona Falei's game. Her breakpoint conversion rate reached 62.5%, a level often achieved only by the world's top 20. On crucial points, Eala didn't retreat as most players do. She moved closer to the baseline, just 1.7 feet away, forcing Falei to react faster on every ball. On Falei's serve, Eala changed her return position depending on the first or second serve, creating return angles that completely disrupted the Belarusian player's axis throughout the match. When the feeling of control is lost, every player crumbles. And Falei was no exception. She hit 4 consecutive double faults at the end of a second set. Her skill was still there, but her mind had melted. Longtime tennis observers understand. This is no longer a sport of mere reaction. It is a game of data and will. And that evening, only one person controlled both. When winning one match means surviving one more season. If you think the reward after every victory is just a handshake and a check, you are underestimating the harsh reality of professional tennis. In the WTA 125 system, every round means survival, especially for players outside the top 50. The victory over Falei put $3,935 in Eala's pocket, enough to pay her coach for 3 weeks or cover the full expenses for the next tournament. Conversely, Falei only received $1,573, a modest amount that could severely derail her playing schedule. Behind every player is an entire operational machine: a coach, a physical trainer, a physiotherapist, a nutritionist, plane tickets, hotels, rackets, strings, stringing fees, all totaling over $8,000 per month. An early loss doesn't just drop your ranking. It forces you to make a bitter decision: cut staff, cancel plans, or withdraw from important tournaments. Meanwhile, Eala is entering the phase of unlocking her career. By maintaining her form for a few months, she can certainly break into the top 50, where WTA 500 tournaments do not require qualifying rounds, and prize money reaches hundreds of thousands of dollars after just 1 week of competition. Tennis is a cruel game. You don't need to lose 10 matches to be left behind. One match, like the one Falei experienced, is enough for everything to start sliding downhill. In this world, the winner earns the right to continue. The loser has to ask themselves, should I stop? Mental collapse, no external reason required. Falei's defeat was not due to a lack of technique. No one who has watched her play doubts her powerful two-handed backhand or her agile baseline movement. But that evening, all her strengths vanished. And the reason was not that Eala was too brilliant with every shot, but because she suffocated her opponent's entire match psychology. Analysis from the shot tracking system showed that Falei was visibly exhausted toward the end of the match. Her lateral movement speed dropped from 4.2 meters per second to 3.8 meters per second, and her recovery time between points increased to 23.7 seconds, exceeding the WTA's allowable limit. But what was truly frightening was how Eala changed her entire scoring structure. When defending, she played forehands with high spin, making the ball deep and heavy. When transitioning to attack, she suddenly used a flat, deep, angled two-handed backhand. This prevented Falei from anticipating any rhythm. And in tennis, there is nothing more brutal than an opponent you cannot read. When the match ended, social media erupted. Some of Falei's fans argued that Eala was stalling with her towel, deliberately breaking the rhythm. But the data shows Eala used her towel 11 times throughout the match, and her time between serves was only 19.3 seconds, below the WTA average. No violations, no gamesmanship, just a perfectly programmed match. And that very perfection left the loser with no rational reason to accept defeat. When statistics become the real weapon. In an era where every swing is tracked by dozens of sensors, tennis is no longer a sport of pure instinct. Eala understands that, and the victory over Falei is proof of a playing style programmed with almost absolute precision. She didn't try to force points. She created conditions that forced her opponent to make mistakes. Shot tracking data from the WTA shows that Eala's strategy was weapon-specific based on the match situation. When defending, her forehand accounted for 68% of her total shots, creating high spin that made the ball deep and heavy. But when attacking, Eala suddenly switched to her backhand, accounting for 71% of her finishing points, a complete reversal of ratio that always kept Falei off balance. Eala's serving strategy was also mathematically clear. 82% of her first serves were aimed at the wide corners of the service box, forcing Falei to return the ball from a state of imbalance. Not only that, the rally length revealed the depth of her thinking. Eala finished 71% of her points within 6 shots, forcing Falei to play fast, even though the Belarusian player is accustomed to lengthening rallies to wait for her opponent's error. But that very strategy completely broke Falei's rhythm. Falei usually had a 61% winning rate in rallies longer than 8 shots, but against Eala, she only managed 47%. A steep decline not because of a loss of skill, but because her opponent had cut off all avenues for tactical defense. In modern tennis, knowing what shot your opponent will hit is not enough. You have to prevent them from playing the way they want. And that is what Eala did for 83 minutes. One victory, one nation's transformation. You might think Alex Eala's victory is just a sports story, but in the Philippines, it is the catalyst for an unprecedented wave of investment in tennis. Immediately after the victory over Falei, viewership on streaming platforms exceeded 73,000, an increase of 380% compared to the average WTA 125 tournament. But the most shocking number came from domestic television. Over 2.1 million viewers watched live across Philippine channels, setting an all-time record for a tennis match outside the Grand Slam system. This boost didn't stop at viewership. Within 30 days after the tournament, tennis racket sales in Metro Manila increased by 84%. Tennis academies in Cebu, Davao, and Quezon received a 156% surge in enrollment applications. More notably, 23 new training centers were approved by the government, with a total investment budget exceeding $18.7 million. The sport, once deemed only for elite schools, has now become a national option. Even the national sports budget was adjusted soon after, increasing by 47% for tennis. Eala is not just competing for herself. She is pulling an entire new industry along with her, from sports education to media, from equipment retail to infrastructure development. And it all started with a victory that many considered normal. But in sports, nothing is small if you are the first to achieve it. And Eala is walking the path that only legends have walked before. When economics, media, and politics joined the game, Eala's victory didn't just cause a sensation in the Philippines. It is changing the entire Southeast Asian tennis map. Indonesia, right after the match, announced a $4.2 million investment package for its youth training program with the goal of producing a female top 100 player by 2030. Singapore increased its coach training budget by 38%, and Thailand committed to guaranteeing wildcards for Southeast Asian players until 2027. This is no longer an individual race. It is an economic battleground. Equipment manufacturers like Wilson, Head, and Babolat immediately announced plans to open new distribution centers in Manila, after racket sales in the Philippines increased by 94% in just 6 months. Television didn't stay out of the game either. Tennis Channel Asia increased its broadcast time for Filipino content by 67%, while streaming platforms like iFlix and iWantTFC began scrambling for broadcast rights. Advertising during tennis slots increased by 145%. Time slots once considered dead commercially are now twice as profitable. The question is, Is this too much for a player who hasn't won a WTA title? The answer lies in the data. Eala's brand recognition in the Southeast Asian region is currently second only to Novak Djokovic and Rafael Nadal. No need to win a Grand Slam. Just win at the right time and know how to turn that victory into a multi-layered ripple effect. Something Eala and the team behind her is executing brilliantly. Scrutinizing the accusations, strategy, or foul play. Immediately after the loss, Aliona Falei did not remain silent. Belarusian media released a series of controversial headlines. Did Eala stall the game on purpose? Victory based on psychological tricks? But when the data was introduced, the story became clearer. Video tracking from the WTA confirmed Eala used her towel 11 times in the match, only slightly above the WTA 125 average of 8.2 times per match. Her average time to prepare to serve was 19.3 seconds, lower than the tour average of 21.7 seconds. No violations were recorded. So why did Falei react so strongly? One statistic might explain. In matches where the score difference is less than 3 games, the likelihood of an emotional outburst from the losing player increases by 34%, according to WTA behavioral data. This means that emotions often override rationality when defeat is too close, but cannot be salvaged. Instead of calling it drama, experts call it emotional overcompensation, a defensive phenomenon when a player cannot accept being completely outplayed. If you ever doubted Eala's sportsmanship, remember, the WTA has never issued a warning to her. And conversely, it is her composure while her opponent crumbles that makes many people nervous. Because in elite sports, the one who shouts the most is not always the one who is right. Sometimes the quiet one is the one who controls the game. One victory, one industry transformed. It is rare for a WTA 125 player to create a systematic media impact like Eala. After her victory at the Jing Shan Open, a series of changes in commerce, infrastructure, and tennis policy took place within 60 days. The number of subscribers for tennis content on digital platforms in the Philippines increased by 290%. The hashtag Team Eala reached 847,000 interactions in the first 72 hours, with 67% coming from domestic users. The direct consequence? The advertising budget for tennis doubled, making time slots once considered dead commercially now twice as profitable. Moreover, consumer data shows that racket sales increased by 94%, and 3 brands alone, Wilson, Head, and Babolat, shifted 23% of their marketing budget toward the Southeast Asian market. Notably, Eala did not sign the kind of glamorous Hollywood contracts. She chose partners aligned with her personal values, avoiding false rumors like the $45 million contract with Louis Vuitton, which her legal team denied. That caution makes her image even more trustworthy with investors, who expect her sponsorship income to reach $1.8 million per year if she breaks into the top 30. To outsiders, this is commercial leverage. But to insiders, this is the moment that marks Southeast Asia as no longer a potential market, but the new focal point of women's tennis.